Folks, what's up? Welcome back. Another Poem Masters video. And before we get into today's video, we will be streaming. You know, whether you're gonna summon on N Zekrom or not. I will be summoning on N Zekrom's banner tonight when it drops. And also one more thing, if you guys haven't noticed recently, we've almost surpassed the official Pokemon Masters YouTube channel sub count. So if you guys haven't subscribed already, make sure to do so, right? And if we, beat out the Pokemon Masters channel's sub count by the end of the year, that would be kind of cool, wouldn't it? So, anyways, let's get into today's stuff. So, N Zekrom, finally coming to the game tonight on a Pokefair banner. So, as always, you guys know, Pokefair banners, better rates, very, very cool, right? So, let's look at the unit. Obviously, like, all the other videos that I do on these, right? If you like N Zekrom, if you're a huge N fan, and I know a lot of y'all out there, right? Go summon for it regardless. Like, in my opinion, as always, the most important units are the ones that you like the most, right? If you don't care for a unit, then then there could be other considerations. Right? I'm not saying we completely disregard how powerful or useful a unit is, but again, in my opinion, usually it's most important to summon for the ones that you like the most, right? But putting that aside, let's talk about the sync pair for those who maybe don't care as much, right? So, N Zekrom, electric type physical striker. Which is very weird. Like, we have a decent amount of physical damage healing electric types in the game, in comparison to special ones, right? Even though usually electric types more specials, right? But it's a good one. It's a good one. It definitely is probably the best. I wouldn't say probably best. I think it is the best electric type striker in the game, in my opinion. Obviously, Elisa still very, very powerful, right? And, they have their differences, right? Zekrom hits harder on his regular move. Lisa does decent amount of damage with the sync move. Zekrom's slightly slower. Lisa much quicker. But then Lisa also has that, recoil thing. Zekrom doesn't have that, right? So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So looking at its stats, he's at a level 125 stats, by the way. Again, you guys said you guys probably preferred the Synchron Helper site instead of the new one. But this site hasn't updated their level 130 stats yet, but it's fine. We could look at 125 stats. I mean, it's not a huge deal, right? It's not like anyone really has the materials to get level 130 yet, because they're actually kind of expensive, and no one's gonna be grinding them because when the N event comes out, everyone's gonna be grinding on the N event because there's a lot of stuff in that one, right? So, let's check it out. So in terms of stats, right? HP, 569, attack 381. That's a decent amount, right? Both defenses 145, and then speed 189. So decent HP, decent defenses, honestly, for a striker, right? Really, really good attack, and very, very bad speed, right? And that is the one issue that we could see from the start with Zekrom, which could potentially be slightly problematic, because Zekrom, being a 4-gauge striker, not even having 200 speed, could potentially be an issue. But don't worry too much, and we don't exactly know how much it affects Zekrom. We'll still have to see once it comes into the game, right? But there are some things that Zekrom does to sort of alleviate that huge downside, right? Which we'll talk about, right? Again, Bolt Strike, that's a 4-gauge move, 20% chance of paralyzing the target, and then has a 5 out of 5, 226 base power, right? 4-gauge single target physical, 85 accuracy only, but again, don't have to worry too much about it because your train move does raise accuracy, right? Your train move, by the way, ideals will prevail. 2 uses on yourself. Sharply raises your speed, raises your accuracy, so +2 speed, +1 accuracy. -1 defense, unfortunately. And then, if you don't have a sync buff yet, it also powers up the next attack, super effective attack, which is really, really nice. So it does say super effective attack, and usually when they say attack, it usually refers to move or sync move, right? If they say move, it's your moves, right? Not sync moves. If they say sync moves, it's sync moves. But when they say attack, like the language that they use in Critical Strike, it usually refers to either moves or sync moves. So that could be actually really, really nice, because if it's only for your moves and if it doesn't count for sync moves, right, it could be really, really bad, because you're spending your first 3 turns buffing, right? And then after after the 2x attacks, after your 1 ideals will prevail, you're going to use your sync, and if it doesn't work on your sync, then you already have a sync buff, then the super effective thing doesn't really, add up, right? It is an extra 50%, so it's a really, really good buff. And I do like this concept. I do hope, like, in the future we do get more sync pairs that do this as well, right? To give another dimension to buffs, right? Because, like, all the time it's just, oh, you buff your crit, buff your attack, buff your special. They're kind of lame. So hopefully in the future, it would be, if there were supports that do this, that would be great as well. However, this does have a really bad restriction, which, again, you have to not have a sync buff, and that means basically you can only use this like once, and then you can't really use it again. And if you're thinking, well, I could just not sync and I could just get an extra one in, it's really not worth it, right? Your first sync buff gives you 1.5 anyways. It's just much better to just go ahead and sync instead, right? Just use one and then sync, and then the second one just doesn't really do anything. And on the flip side, it also lowers your defense, which kind of sucks for like the return, which is not that great, because you're just getting like +2 speed and +1 accuracy, which is not bad, right? Which is really, really nice, but it's not like anything crazy, because usually when they lower your defenses or lower any of your other stats, you're getting like crazy amounts of stats coming back. Like, for example, Red and Charizard, right? You're getting +3 special attack and +3 speed for like -2 defenses, and then if you're Mega, you also get +3 attack as well, right? And Volcarona, that's like a bunch of other stats as well. It's not really worth the trade-off, so maybe it could be a better idea to just like not use the second one. But again, there are still issues that you like, it kind of forces you to use it, unless you use some other support that gives you accuracy as well, right? Which generally there aren't really that many accuracy supports that also give you physical attack. It's like, this one is like Lily, right? The other like big accuracy supports like Sabrina or things to Lisa, they buff your special attacks, and obviously Zekrom, not a special striker, right? So that's also a slight issue here as well. But yeah, anyways, moving on. We got X attack over here, right? And then we got Outrage. So they had to give him a Dragonite move, and it's Outrage, which is fine if you have a few more copies of him in terms of the sync grid, right? Yeah. You definitely need a few more copies if you want to, utilize Outrage. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty bad. I think at least like 2 out of 5, right? No, oh my god, it's 3 out of 5. Okay, never mind. I mean, well, he could do like a Fusion Boom 3, but that's very, very not worth it in my opinion. And we'll talk about that later, right? Sync move, Bridging Bolt Strike, no additional effect. Regular standard base power, nothing too special with that. Passives, Entry Freebie. So it has Entry Freebie and Sync Freebie. So Entry Freebie makes it so that once, as soon as you enter or after you enter the stage, right, your next move doesn't cost any move gauges, right? So that's really nice, because again, really, really low speed. So the first like 4 turns or so, like after you buff, or 5 turns, I guess. So usually you X attack, train a move, sync, train a move again. So that's like 5 turns, and then your 6th turn, right? After that, you use a Bolt Strike, and then that's like a free Bolt Strike, right? It doesn't cost any move gauges, and basically, if that doesn't cost any move gauges, your supports or attacks or whatever else that you're running with your team gets to use up all those gauges without worrying about this huge like 4 gauge move, and without worrying about the regen because of your bad speed, right? So it's kind of like Rejuvenate. Well, actually, Rejuvenate is like the other one, but the other one is the same, except it's after a sync move. So this one is kind of like Rejuvenate, right? So that's pretty nice as well. Although your first entry freebie you won't really use, because you're not going to be like using a move until you sync anyways. Okay, now that I think about it, entry freebie is terrible. Okay, this is completely pointless, because you won't be using like your attacks until you sync anyways, right? unless you're like playing co-op, right? But you know, if you're not playing co-op, yeah, you won't be using this passive at all. You're mainly going to be using this one, right? Which is kind of like Rejuvenate. Rejuvenate gives you 6 gauges after you sync. This one gives you like a free, you know, 0 gauge cost move use after you sync, right? Which again, very, very helpful because super, super slow, right? So hopefully these help, and hopefully in the combination of that plus the +4 speed that you get from the trainer move, hopefully that means you don't run into too many gauge issues, because again, super slow 4 gauge move, that's a recipe for a disaster usually, right? So moving on, piercing blows of this grants all the following effects: the user attacking with move or sync move, ignores passive skills that reduce the damage of attacks, ignore passive skills that protect the target against a crit, opponents can endure an attack, right? So do keep in mind this is like against passives and not like any other things, right? So if it's, you know, in a passive the opponent has, then you could easily clear it, right? If it's something else like a field effect, right, it doesn't really work on that, unfortunately. Opponents can endure attack. I mean sync moves. Opponents can't endure sync moves anyways in the first place. I don't even know. It's your regular move. That's not a huge deal. Anyways, moving on. So, Zekrom Synchrid is not the best, unfortunately. It's actually kind of bad. But it's like, I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people say. I mean, I still think it's like relatively serviceable. You do have like some decent nodes on it, right? For the most part. So let's basically let's look at them, you know, copy by copy, right? So 1 out of 5, Zekrom, you honestly don't really get anything at all. Like you get an outrage move gauge refresh, which is kind of whatever, right? And then like you can't get paralyzed, which I mean, as a striker, you're not gonna get hit by like status conditions like 99% of the time, anyways, right? Other than like if it's like AOE, whatever paralysis move, or you know, stun sport go viral. We've had like that happen only like once ever, right, in the whole game, it's history, right? X attack MP refresh. It's only MP refresh 2, which kind of sucks, but again, not a huge deal, right? If you just bring like another attack support. So yeah, at 1 out of 5. Like here's the thing though, like Zekrom's like base kit is pretty decent, so we don't have to worry about the synchro too much, right? So even though it's not a great synchro, you know, it's not a huge deal, honestly, right? So 2 out of 5, you do gain some stuff. You do gain paralysis synergy on outrage. You also gain confusion boon 3 on outrage as well. In my opinion, confusion boon 3 is honestly a trap. Not a huge deal. And then paralysis synergy, again, it is just for outrage. So like if you really just want like a dragon type striker, you could just use like Kingdra instead, honestly. Kingdra or Haxorus, right? Those are free, right? Like if you're looking for a dragon type striker, do not go for N, right? I mean, he's not a terrible dragon type striker. He's not that great either, because do keep in mind, his you know, he's still an electric type. He's not a dragon type, right? Again, Pokemon Masters, they only have single types. There's no dual types, right? He does have a dragon type move. However, his sync move is still electric type, right? Which not the best if you're looking for a dragon type striker. So only like go for him if you're like if you're like N, or if you need like a good physical electric type striker, right? So yeah, as for some other stuff, right, you do get your MP refresh for your training move, which is completely useless, because again, you won't be using more than more than 2 even, honestly. Unless you need the speed, but like if you need the speed, it's probably just bring like another support that gives you a bit of speed, honestly, instead, just because like if there's no use using this like after, like, because again, 3 turns till you sync, and once you sync, you don't get the extra buff from it, so it's kind of pointless. You do get Bolt Strike move gauge refresh 2, right, which will help a decent amount. I mean, it's only move gauge refresh 2, but it still helps. Really bad speed, 4 gauge move, it's something, right? Hostile environment 1 on Bolt Strike, in my opinion, is actually kind of interesting. Because like you do have like 20% chance to paralyze on base, and then you get an extra roll on that, so it's actually kind of interesting. It is 8 gauges. I'm not sure if it's like really worth it though. But I mean, at 2 out of 5, it's a decent pickup. I'm just not sure if it's worth it at like 3 out of 5, right? So 2 out of 5, you got like some decent stuff here, right? You do have some decent outrage stuff, and you do have, but you don't get like the key outrage node, which is over here, clear-headed, which prevents you from being confused, right? So yeah, you do get some stuff, right? And a lot of the good stuff is behind 3 out of 5, unfortunately, right? If there's, if you want to count them as good stuff at all, even though, again, not the best sync grid, right? Unfortunately. But you do unlock all 6 of your sync move node power-ups, right? So if you want to, use him to do some good sync damage, if you don't have like a 3 out of 5 Elisa, right? I guess you could try to go for a 3 out of 5 Zekrom. Although it would probably be easier to get like a 3 out of 5 Elisa than a 3 out of 5 Zekrom, right? I think in my calculation, if you like go like full, like if you just pick up like every single one of these like sync move nodes, he does do slightly more damage than regular Lisa on your sync move, but this is not like a really good build in my opinion, right? In my opinion, you probably want to go for the Bolt Strike move gauge refresh because you do get a second move gauge refresh, and this is a move gauge refresh 3, so that should really help a lot with Zekrom's speed, right? But yeah, if you're just like looking for like a physical electric type sync nuker, not sync Lisa, regular Lisa kind of does the job better. But again, Zekrom does have a stronger regular move, right? So we'll talk about like Zekrom and Elisa in a bit, right? But for the most part, again, 2 move gauge refreshes, fantastic, and again, hopefully all these things carry Zekrom so you don't have too much gauge issues. On top of that, you do get Static Shock 3, extra 30% when the target is paralyzed. Unfortunately, it's Static Shock 3, but on the other hand, I mean, it's something, right? So it's like it's something, I guess. I mean, if you want to like, I don't even know, is that even possible to like get both move gauge refreshes, hostile environment, and how many Bolt Strike? Okay, you can only pick up 3. Yeah, maybe it's better if you like just run it with another paralyzer, which you probably should, honestly, right? Your best, like the best way to use Zekrom is to run it with Luxray, because Luxray gives you electric terrain. Electric terrain gives you an extra 50% buff on your like electric moves. Really, really good, right? And then on top of that, Luxray also, once it gets fixed, right, can also paralyze your opponents, so that gives you that extra paralysis for Static Shock 3, just in case you just can't paralyze with Bolt Strike, right? So yeah, overall, a lot of people are saying N's bad. I don't agree. I think N's actually pretty good. I do think it's an overall better striker than Elisa if you have 3 out of 5 N, right? However, I also don't think it's like necessary to have, right? Same thing with like Gloria, even though Gloria is fantastic, right? In my opinion, it's like, definitely Gloria's top 10 striker in the game, maybe even, higher than that, right? And like you don't really need Gloria if you had like 3 out of 5 or 2 out of 5 Steven, right? And same thing with Zekrom. If you had like 3 out of 5 Elisa, it's not like it's not really necessary either to pick up Zekrom. But however, Zekrom's really good, right? If you don't have like 3 out of 5 Elisa, if you have like 1 out of 5 or 2 out of 5 Elisa, actually let me check out Elisa's grid. 2 out of 5 Elisa. Actually 2 out of 5 Elisa is pretty good. Damn. Yeah, 2 out of 5 Elisa's sync grid is really, really good. What is it missing? Okay, all right, never mind. Ignore that. 2 out of 5 Elisa is fine. All right, you don't really need Zekrom if you have like 2 out of 5 Elisa. Damn, 2 out of 5 Elisa is so good. Like, you really don't need anything from 3 out of 5. It's basically like the 2 sync nodes. Everything else is just like, this is like whatever, right? Like, you just like build like something along the lines of like this, and then you should basically be good. Pick some more like wild card power ups. Or if you want like first aid down here instead of the wild. Actually, you don't have enough. Actually, yeah. But yeah, yeah. If you if you have 2 out of 5, Zipstrika or 3 out of 5 Zipstrika, especially if you to have Vulcaner as well, right? Not a huge deal, but hey, again, if you like N, if you like Zekrom, go for it, right? It is a Pokefear. It does have increased rates, although do keep in mind there are still the guaranteed 5-star banners coming soon, which those are really, really good, right? You have a chance to get, in the Lolo one, you have a Lolo Kalos one, you have a chance to get Serena, which is honestly better than like any Pokefear in the game, for one, right? And, on top of that, the seasonal stuff is coming. May is coming. May is absolutely insane, right? Although again, the banner's not that great. It's just a regular, Spotlight Scout in comparison to over here, which is a Pokefear, right? Pokefear banners generally are nice. If you don't think like it's a huge deal, right, over here, Again, if you do have like 2 out of 5 Elisa, 3 out of 5 Lisa, and you kind of want Zekrom, I'd probably just like wait if he gets rerun with like another Pokefair, right? Again, he's good. He's good. He's just not anything, game breaking or whatever, right? So anyways, that's me with this one. I guess hope you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna guys think in the comments down below. Like and enjoy this video, subscribe to the channel for some more Pokemon Masters content. And again, I will be streaming my summons later tonight, so tune in and good luck to everyone who is summoning, because I know a lot of you guys love it. So hope you guys get them, and hope I get them too. Anyways, see you guys later then.